Kia ora koutou. Welcome to Design Thinking. This lesson is going to be quite high level. Why? Because the amount of work that you would go through for a design thinking course is insane. Service design in general could take 3 or 4 days. We are going to go and give you some tools where you can find out who your customer is and where you're looking to serve them on their customer journey. Let's crack into it. Design thinking is all about empathizing with the customer, really understanding them so that you can serve them the right way. Now, we're going to go through one process as part of service design, but it's not the only one. But this allows you to, I guess, tick off some hypothesis and understand your customer better. Quick overview of the last 3 lessons. You should now understand the need for business agility. What's coming, what could cause you to adapt and respond and be flexible in your approach. Now we're going to focus on tools and frameworks. So this whole outcome 2 is really design thinking and agile delivery. It's not the only way to business agility. It's just one way. And this one way, I want to give you some tools that you can straight away use. If you look at your workbook, your activity guide will walk you through creating your own documents, your own customer journey maps, your own personas. And I want you to really use those in your organization and then come back and view this lesson again to make sure you've fully comprehended why we use these items and maybe what other IP we could use. So again, to reiterate, business agility from this course point of view is design and delivery. Service design or design thinking and agile delivery. We can split it up into 4 sections, so we're tasking it out again. 1, who do you want to serve and where do you play? 2, what problem are we solving? And we get that done before we look at how to win and in what way we're going to deliver that value. You could also overlay the triple O model, which is objectives, outcomes, and outputs. What I'm going to try and do in this course for you is link all of these different methods and frameworks together so you're using a similar language. This means that if you go into another organization that's using different terminology, you can go, that's right, that's just that. I'm hoping I can connect these dots for you. So design thinking comes from the idea that a lot of people want to go straight to the solution. Have you ever been in a boardroom where people just come up with solutions? There's a problem they think is the right problem and they come up with solutions. How do we make more money? Well, we can do this, 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 and this. It's just not how solutions are done in the real world. It's how you waste a lot of money and a lot of time. Design thinking allows you to think in terms of empathy, so you're empathizing with your customer. How do I approach this? You can define specifically the customer you want to do. So how do I interpret this? Once you've defined either the problem or the customer you're actually working with, you could ideate. How do I create this? And that's so much fun. It's so much fun to brainstorm and do story mapping, big room planning, whichever one you want to call it. It's good fun. Ideation is the fun part of design thinking. Then we're going to prototype it, right? So think about your lean startup. It's all about prototyping, your MVP, minimal viable product. How do I build this? And if you've ever been on a design thinking course, you'll normally create things with marshmallows and paper and all kinds of things like that. And that's good fun to understand how you can do it, but I'm going to give you some even simpler techniques to actually do it in your organization, as opposed to some theory where you can play and team build. The last point of the IDO sequence, which bear in mind, IDEO doesn't even recommend anymore. But I find this is very handy for people who are new to design thinking. And that's test. How do I improve this? Now, you could look at it as a linear process, which comes to the solution. But that's not always the case. The solution can come from any part of this sequence. You may not even do this in order. You may prototype something and then go back to define, and then it helps you ideate further. It's not linear. And that's the reason why IDEO dropped this, because everyone was using it in a linear fashion. I find personally that you can use this in a linear fashion as long as you're aware that you can jump around. So start off with empathizing with your customer, then define the problem, ideate some possible solutions, prototype it and test it with the customer, go back to ideation, prototype that, test it with the customer, realize you're completely wrong, go define a problem again, ideate, prototype, test with the customer, then build the real thing. Okay? Cool. So empathize. Humans. We're this magical species. There are two defining things of a human. And you've got one of them right here, opposable thumbs. And we've also got this wonderful thing called mirror neurons. So only a couple of species in the world have mirror neurons. And what does it actually mean? It means that if I see you hurt yourself, I feel it. I literally can empathize with your feelings, which means that if you hurt yourself real bad, I don't want to do that again. So empathy is to be human. It's natural. So no matter how much we try to become logical creatures where it's all a set process, and for those of you who are like me, who are concrete sequentialists, we still have empathy. We just think of it in a linear way. So if empathy is to be human and people are the customers, and until AI takes over and starts buying products for us on Amazon, people are still the customers. Customers buy to solve problems in their lives. They don't buy your products because you're selling them or that looks cool. It's normally a byproduct of what they want. There's a problem and they want to solve it. And customers trade with those who are like them. Now let us sink in a little bit. Would you trade with somebody who was doing child labor? If that's against your values, of course you won't. You want to trade with companies or people. Remember, a company is a limited company, which is a living entity or a person in the legal context. You want to trade with them if they're like you. So people are customers. They buy things to solve problems in their lives, and they're only trade with people who are associated with who are like them in their tribe. So is product development luck or strategy? You could argue it's luck, and there is an element of luck. But organizations with the best outcomes are the ones that have strategy with customer centricity in mind. An organization that understands the human experience will understand how to position their marketing and their operations around the customer experience. And there's a great example of the Gillette razors in India in your course notes, so please have a look at that. It's hits the nail on the head of a company who thought they could just sell a product in India, and when they went over to India to actually empathize with them, they realized that the people of India are very different to people of the UK, and they treat their products differently. So have a quick look at that. So how do we empathize with customers? Well, you could use an empathy map. Again, one example. An empathy map is all about interviewing current or potential customers. So how I like to do this with startups is I will go to them and say, who's your customer? And they'll say, everyone. I'm like, great, let's interview everybody. And we'll go out there and we'll interview, say, 100 people. And we'll realize very quickly that 99 of them are not the customer you want. And this is a good example of how to do that. If you're in a current organization, go interview your current customers, bring them on the journey, and you'll realize that most of those customers are not the customers you want to serve. We're going to map the user's thoughts, needs, beliefs, their pains, their resolves, their emotions. This is all about emotions. The end result is to get a persona or a customer segmentation. Okay, that's the main bit of this. And what you're going to find is you're going to synthesize all the data to better understand the customer. The best way of doing this that I found is just to draw on a big piece of paper or a whiteboard. Go out with your research questions. So what's a research question? Okay, so you're going to have a hypothesis, and it could be as simple as these people will buy my product. Go deeper. Go deeper. So if we quickly look at Eric Ried's value and growth hypothesis, you'll have a value or a growth hypothesis. And that could be as simple as, I believe they'll buy this product. Great. So what? Okay, if they were to buy this product, then they want these features. Excellent. So what? Okay, I'll ask them the question, do you value these features? You want to try and keep open questions. So in this example of value hypothesis, you'll see that Eric uses definition, tests whether the new product or service will create value for the customer. His example of this is customers desire high quality artisan lemonade. The question to ask is this a valuable proposition to my target customers? Okay, so what he's trying to say in here is if people want to buy artisan lemonade, then you need to make sure they actually do want this value add. So you could ask questions like, do you want to support local businesses? And they're going to go yes. So that's the open yes or no question. So yes or no question. And then you say, what is it about local businesses that makes it more appealing? The questions aren't actually as important as the answers and where it goes. So what you want to kind of do with your questions is create a yes/no answer at the start. Do you want this? Leads them into a question, and then create an open question to start a dialogue. What I find really useful with design thinking sessions like this is you have two people, one person answering and asking questions and one person observing. And what you're looking for is, are they looking to the side? Are they bored? Are they giving you prescribed answers? What is it they're talking about? Once they go off on a tangent, great, grab them, keep going with the tangent. Forget your questions. But try to have two questions lined up, a yes, no answer and an open question. That will help you resolve that hypothesis. So what you're looking to achieve with this is, what are they hearing? And this could be as simple as, I heard that lemonade made by kids is much sweeter. So what am I hearing? What are they thinking or feeling? They want to support the local environment. Awesome. What are they seeing? Less local businesses popping up, more big chains, less jobs. What are they saying and doing? They're not buying the products. If they were buying the products, these companies wouldn't be going under, would they? So what are they actually doing? Dig deeper. Keep digging until you find an answer there. What are the potential gains and pains for these customers? Once you've validated your value or growth hypothesis, and you've got some good data, what you'll start to see is a whole bunch of similarities. And that will allow you to go, right, there are these type of customers and there are these type of customers. There are people who want to buy and probably would buy lemonade if it was this price. There are people who would never buy lemonade. So who are we going to choose as a customer? We're not going to serve them, are we? We're going to stick over here. There's Jim and Jill. Jim's going to get our business. Jim wants to support and he just thinks it's too expensive. So why don't you currently buy lemonade from local producers? It's $4. And then you might go into a little niche segment and go, I can't find them. Well, that's the easy fix. Would you like them delivered to you? You keep asking questions until you find your customer segmentation that makes sense for you. Once you have, let's say you're doing a project, 20 people, new startup, 100 people. You want to find the right customer. And by customer, I don't mean internal stakeholder. If you're providing a service for an internal stakeholder, i.e. you're a technology department delivering to your operations teams, you want to talk to the users, totally. But you want to understand how that's going to impact the customer later on. And that's the customer you're actually talking to. And that's why cognitive diversity is so important. Because you're not just delivering something to the operations, you're delivering some software to the operations who is going to serve the customer. So why are we doing this? Oh, to save time. Okay, great. We're saving time so we increase the happiness score of the customer. Right? So it's always linked to the customer at some point. But who's the customer? There is only one valid purpose of a firm to create a customer. Peter Drucker. There are no internal customers. You can define if it's a customer or an internal stakeholder by asking one question. Do they have the ability to choose someone else? If the answer is yes, then they may actually be a customer. If the answer is no, then they're most likely an internal stakeholder. The second question you want to ask yourself is, can this person not only go somewhere else, but do they get the full benefit of the product you are serving them with? No? Then they are a partner in the value chain towards the customer. So there are no internal customers, there are internal stakeholders. There are no business-to-business customers. They are merely partners in delivering value to the end customer. So ask the question, can they go somewhere else? No? Internal stakeholder. Yes? Are they getting the value? Are they getting the true value from your product or service? No? Then they're a partner. You want to find the end solution. A good example of this was a food producer for a local hospital who was providing food for the patients. When asking the hospital only ever wanted cheap food. Lower prices possible. The kitchen company actually went to the people in the hospital and asked them, what do they want? That allowed them to derive a slightly more expensive product, but that the customer actually wanted. They then negotiated to do a trial. It actually freed up beds faster because they were happier. Happier patients leave faster. This case study was really interesting to me because I looked at it and went, perfect. They trialed a small region and then they grew to nationwide afterwards. Not only is the hospital is saving money, the company's making more money, and the customer is more happy. It's a win-win-win situation. All because that company decided to go straight to the customer and ask them, what kind of food do they want? What problem were they solving? When you think about when you make more money, don't focus on the money. Focus on the customer or employee value. If you focus on the customer value, your customers will be happier and you'll make more money. If you focus on the employee value, your employees will help create more customer value, and the customer value will help you make more money. It all leads to more money. But companies that focus on money make less money, which is it's always strange to hear out loud. In the 70s and 80s, that was not the case. Today, it is the case. Shareholder value is decreasing in popularity because customer value is increasing competitive advantage. You want to focus on one person, not the market. So if you did a Master's of Business Administration in the 1990s, you would have heard industry segmentations, you would have heard geographical segmentations. I'm here to tell you that even in my own executive MBA, we talked about focusing on niche customer segmentations. And I want to go one step further. Think about an individual. Serve the individual, don't serve the market. You obviously want to make sure that there is a scalability point for this, but you don't want to focus on what you think is your niche customer segmentation, and actually it's even smaller than that. They are getting smaller. With Generation Z coming along, buying things, they're getting smaller. Amazon's AI system is already bringing that niche customer segmentation right the way down. It's going to get smaller, and we need to be prepared to pivot on demand for this. Part of the same study in 1998, they talked about technological advances not actually making better outcomes or product success. They also make less money. So again, if you are a private company and you want to make more money, and that's your goal, focus on the customer experience, bring the customer in. Customer insights, customer experience are more correlated to more money because they reduce the risk of deployment of bad products, and they increase the buy-in from customers. So what happens in the real world? So if you look at your document, your course notes, you'll see that I tell you to go out, look at your customers, who your customer is, and do an empathy map and do a persona. Most times you're not going to be able to spend weeks doing this. But in the real world, we would spend weeks doing this, especially on a startup. We would literally immerse ourselves with our customers. Potential customers, really. When you immerse yourself, like the Gillette example, you go actually to your customers and you live with them, you see them use the product, you see the problems they're having. The best option would actually be to sit there and follow your customer for a couple of weeks to really see it. But that's called stalking, and you don't want to do that. Observe. You see, but you do not observe. You don't just want to watch, you want to really observe and be a student of their life. And you're engaging with very simple, open questions. Why are we doing this? Who's this helping? How, what, where? Just really open questions. Really understand your customer properly. And then realize it's not the right customer. That's okay. Find another one. They are the expert in their own lives. You are the noob. Just because you have a great software solution or a great new product or great new widget doesn't mean someone's going to buy it. You need to really make sure you understand that customer and that customer will love that solution. So that's all about empathy, empathizing, finding the right customer. Now we're going to define, we're going to really nail in on that customer segmentation. So we're going to focus. So if you try to be everything to everyone, you'll be nothing to no one. We're talking about the market again. So there's the mass market. So mass market advertisement worked in the 1960s, 1950s with radio, newspapers, TV, etc. It's called shotgun advertisement for a reason. You literally just shoot out there and you hope you hit someone. It's not effective now. Market segmentation is working in countries like Australia and New Zealand and smaller countries. Most of the world now is moving towards niche customer segmentations. And as I said in the previous lesson, you could be a woman in her mid-20s who's vegan, who loves football. And you're selling them headphones. It may sound silly, but they will love and promote your products. But I want you to focus on individuals still. Call them Kat. Call them Sharon. Doesn't matter, focus on the individual. And I want you to do a persona. And what is a persona? I like it to be fictional, just in case your customer ever sees it, which has happened to me a few times. I do personas on users, and the user comes in and sees their name and everything about them, and they get really offended. So try to use a fictional character, but based on real information. Draw them, take a picture of them, so that everyone can see that customer always. What I like to do with a product startup or with a massive program of work is to have the customer always in view. Every single stand-up, every meeting I have, I talk about the customer. How is Ron gonna like that? Will Ron like that? etc. Their name, occupation, any other details. What kind of person are they? Again, I've given you 2 things to download in the course notes for personas. Use whichever one you want. Use neither. Find another example. The main thing is to understand your customer. That's the one you've chosen. And from now on, you're going to go back. Does Ron like that? Why wouldn't Ron like that? Are we arguing? Are we different? Let's go ask Ron. What's motivating them and what's demotivating them? So Hertzberg talks about hygiene factors, and I like that. So that's why I like this example here, motivating and demotivating. Hygiene factors, what puts them off and what turns them on. You're going to draw the customer out, seek to understand them more intensely. If they're the wrong customer, scrap it, go back to your empathy map and find another one. And this is where backwards and forwards can happen for a long time. With startups, you do it much faster. In your organization, you will have many niche customer segmentations. Especially if you've got 1,000-person employees, you would actually have a lot of niche customer segmentations. And that's okay, especially when we're looking at restructuring an organization around the customer. You want to know how many you've got. And you may have to roll them up for the moment. You may go, right, I'm gonna go customer segmentation for the time being because too hard basket. But we know we're gonna have to go down to niche eventually. And again, this is all part of your strategy and whether or not you do it now or later.